So as of this afternoon, we intend to increase patrols in the southern part of Canberra in any event as a result of the state of emergency to provide comfort to community and to ensure that where people might be considering either disaster tourism or anything else nefarious, that police will be on the scene and deal with that quickly and effectively. I urge all Canberrans to continue using common sense and prepare themselves for the days ahead. As I said yesterday, our evacuation planning depends very heavily on your evacuation planning. So again, I ask you to think about your plans, revisit your fire plans, think about when you want to do it. If you're planning to leave, make that decision early because then we're not trying to do everything at the last minute if something changed in terms of fire behaviour.
Conditions are changing and they will get worse today. Please remain vigilant. If you have not already done so, get your life in order. And by that I mean your bushfire survival plan, your response to calls to action when they are issued in the coming days. And the safety of you and your loved ones is of importance to me. So please consider what you are going to do in the coming hours and the coming days to ensure you are helping me help you stay safe. People in Tharwa and the southern suburbs of Banks, Gordon and Condor and the surrounding areas remain monitoring the situation closely. Now, I said this yesterday. I provide information not to paralyse you with fear, but to motivate you to calls of action when they are issued. At this point, I can advise you that no properties are under immediate threat at this time. But the conditions are expected and predicted to become dangerous. Fire crews may not be able to protect you and your property. So we ask you again to remain vigilant and listen to warnings. Heed advice. I would like to thank our community yet again for your overwhelming response and support. Please keep asking those questions. We are only too happy to provide the response that you need and act where required. Please stay tuned to the website, Facebook, Twitter, our partner in emergency alert systems, the ABC radio, all of the media for the support you are providing in ensuring our community are well informed and kept up to date on the situation as it unfolds today. I would like to thank the 2,000 plus people who are wearing a uniform today, supporting the residents of the ACT. Our ESA staff, our volunteers, our colleagues from interstate, our colleagues from overseas, the Australian Defence Force, ACT Policing, and all of those non-government organisations that are working side by side with our government agencies to create an environment where the ACT community feels supported, knows they are supported, and is accessing the help that they need. Stay safe, Canberra. Good evening, ACT. I'm joined by Alana, our Auslan interpreter. Alana's from just outside of Parramatta in Sydney. So welcome to Canberra, Alana, and thank you for your assistance. So it's been a busy 3 days for us here across Canberra. In fact, it's been a busy 6 weeks. But the last 3 or 4 days have been very busy indeed with the Aurora Valley fire starting on the 27th of January. It has unfortunately burned 55,000 hectares and the perimeter is 148 kilometres. The fire still remains 6.4 kilometres from our urban interface, the southern suburbs of the ACT, and 1.2 kilometres from Tharwa. I flew over the fire ground myself this afternoon. Thank you to the ADF, the Navy pilots and their aircraft. Took their time and supported me so I could get a really good look at the landscape. so I can have a good feel for what's actually happening on the ground, and most importantly observe the absolutely outstanding work that is going on behalf of our residents across the ACT and our colleagues in New South Wales, and really looking to defeat this fire. I can tell you it will be a long 2, 3, maybe even 6 weeks of firefighting to extinguish this fire, and we will lose a lot of land. Fortunately though, we have some wins and some celebrations. First thing we want to celebrate is the fact that the health and well-being and fitness of the men and women who've been supporting you and helping to keep you safe is sound. We haven't had any major injuries, and we are very blessed that we haven't had any loss of life, quite frankly, and that's a very good thing to celebrate. We have protected many properties. We've supported rural and remote landholders to protect their properties, and we have preserved culture and heritage. We've also saved, and I would say that saved, many critical infrastructures across our landscape, including the Mount Tennant area, which has been really important. The Booth Repeater, Hospital Creek Hut, Yankee Hat Hut, and so many more, and we should be very proud of that. I've been able to see the effectiveness of the prescribed burns that have been put in recent years by Parks and Conservation, very sound and protecting elements of our landscape. But of course, tonight and over the coming days, we'll be putting in some strategically planned backburns to the northern perimeter before Corrin Road, and to the west before Mount Franklin Road, and that is to contain this fire from spreading any further. Good evening, ACT. It's been a really challenging day for us here in the Emergency Services Agency, and I'm aware that many of you would be quite concerned about the conditions that you can sort of experience tonight and what you can actually see from your front doors. It's pretty smoky out there. The cloud is quite dark, and you will smell and almost sense the fire in the coming hours. I can say, however, that the fire is no closer to Tharwa at this stage, and it is no closer to the southern suburbs. What you are experiencing at the moment is extensive and intensive fire activity to the north and the west of the fire perimeter. Having said that, we will keep you updated throughout the evening should the situation change. Overall, the Aurora Valley Fire is now 61,394 hectares in size, and it will continue to grow. It is 167 kilometres of a burnt perimeter. It remains 6 kilometres from Gordon and 1.2 kilometres from Tharwa. It is still classified as out of control. The ACT will continue under a state of alert for the rural areas. I issued a watch and act at 4 p.m. this afternoon for the areas of Tharwa and southern Tuggeranong. This was due to the increasing southerly wind conditions. The expected southerly change reached Cooma at 5 p.m. with winds of 45 kilometres an hour, gusting to 60 kilometres an hour. This is stronger than had been predicted by the Bureau of Meteorology. Crews have been advised of the impending wind change, and we have prepared them accordingly. The fire has breached our close containment strategy on the Western Frank around the Mount Franklin Road. Crews are currently working on site, attempting to bring this edge of the fire within containment. Significant increase in fire activity has resulted in the fire edge now being less than 100 metres from our containment line. Please follow instructions from ACT policing. Please don't be irresponsible. Keep yourself safe and say no to disaster tourism. Again, I've got teams of tree assessors operational across the fireground with the intent to keep roads open and reopen roads where it is safe to do so. Right, interstate support coming in the next couple of days. More Queensland crews arrive into the ACT this evening and into tomorrow. Thank you, Queensland. ADF continues to provide support. Thank you, ADF. And air attack operators are coming in from other states. We continue to work with the National Resource Sharing Centre as we are well supported by our colleagues from across Australia during this challenging time. And of course, we all know a big shout out in particular to our volunteers across Australia. We are now into about the 5th month or 6th month of active firefighting that started in Queensland earlier on in the year, has worked its way down the Eastern Corridor as far as Tasmania and across to Western Australia. No area of our country has been untouched by this challenging fire season. And again, thank you to all our volunteers and the paid staff from all over Australia and for your families for sharing you with us here in the ACT. Our evacuation centre is remaining open. It remains open 24/7 and we'll continue to monitor that evacuation centre in the coming days. As the threat subsides, we may draw back on some of the hours, but we will keep you updated to any changes to our evacuation centre in the coming days. So what do we need you to do, ACT? Check the ESA website. Keep yourselves up to date. Quite often it's important to refresh your connection to the website page so that you can be kept up to date on everything that is occurring. Continue to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Download the Fires Near Me app, the New South Wales Fires Near Me app, and download and complete your bushfire survival plan. Good afternoon across the ACT. Well, the Orala Valley fire is still at advice level. The fire remains out of control. As the Minister pointed out, the fire is now 80,000 hectares in size and the perimeter is approximately 197 kilometres. Our state of alert remains in place for the rural areas of the ACT. Fire activity remains erratic on many parts of the fire ground, in particular the west and the southwest of the fire perimeter. Since Monday afternoon, the good news is the fire has not moved any closer to Tharwa village or the southern suburbs. The fire is, however, 5.1 kilometres from Birragai, 4.9 kilometres from Tidbinbilla Nature Park Visitor Centre and 10.4 kilometres from the Tidbinbilla Tracking Station. Additionally, fire and rescue units were sourced to monitor the fire overnight in the Corrin Dam area near the Corrin Ski Resort and the Corrin Rangers Station. Both assets remain secure. Now, the weather today has seen an easterly wind expected to arrive in the ACT in the early evening. In fact, it has arrived much earlier this afternoon. It has not only brought increased humidity, which is a good thing for firefighting, unfortunately, it has brought a lot of that smoke and haze with it from the fires to the east of the ACT. We have received a number of triple O calls from our community concerned. I can say that this is not active fire within our residential areas. It is the fire activity in the rural areas to the east of the ACT.
These easterly winds are expected to reach 40 kilometres an hour, and this may lead to an increased fire activity in those rural areas to the east of the ACT. Now, the fire is mostly on the western side, close to the New South Wales border in terms of that fire activity, and this includes the snowy Monaro. The fire is moving in a westerly direction towards the Marys Hill fire, where that was burning. Now, the Marys Hill fire was a fire that we fought alongside New South Wales just after the Christmas period. So what we may start to see now is a merging of the fire activity on the western flank of the rural areas of the ACT merge as it continues to move west with the Marys Hill fire. Now, a number of you have asked for some visual reference to fire activity as a more of a point of reference for you, so you can better understand fire activity in context to where you live, either in the ACT or for those of our neighbours close to our hearts on the sort of fringe of the ACT. So tonight we've got a bit of a map. I am certainly not an expert in delivering the weather, so please don't think this is a failed attempt at that. I just want to be able to give you a visual to better understand what is happening. So bear with us as we do our first attempt at this evening. On the fire ground today, the fire's status remains at out of control, and the state of alert for rural areas remains in place for the ACT. The fire is now approximately 84,935 hectares in size, and the burn perimeter within the ACT is approximately 218 kilometres. Fire behaviour has, however, been relatively mild today due to high humidity and light winds. The northern and western edges are a priority for us to develop options such as tactical backburning to enable optimal containment strategies to be implemented. Since Monday, the fire has not moved any closer to Thawa village or Gordon, and fire conditions around Thawa have abated. The good news is the public now has access to the Thawa village. Some very happy people out there today. And I just wanted to really make a point of saying thank you to ACT Rural Fire Service. And thank you to Parks and Conservation and the experts and the paid firefighters and the volunteers and the seasonal workers who are really on the ground. Now, the relationship in this agency that I have seen blossom between Rural Fire Service and Fire and Rescue ACT is nothing but outstanding. And again, a big shout out to all of the staff for their integration, their support and their learnings from each other. I've rotated the leadership in our incident management room, our incident management team. I have had leadership from Rural Fire Service, from Parks and Conservation, from Fire and Rescue, from State Emergency Service. I've got executive leadership right across the board that is looking and supporting our whole of government. I've had a lot of people post in and say thank you to me. I feel like I know you all. I'm really glad about that. As your commissioner, my role is to be the glue. On behalf of the Emergency Services Agency, as I said, we're not out of the woods. We've got a long way to go, but thank you for your support, ACT. We're sending strong messages out there to our neighbours in Michelego, in Bredbo, across the Cooma region. We feel for you at the moment. We're working really hard to continue to support you. You are part of our family, and I'm sure we're part of yours. So as a team of teams tonight, as I said, we're not out of the woods, but I do want Canberra to sleep a little bit better tonight, knowing that we are working very hard to protect you. I'm going to go home and have a good night's sleep tonight. My staff are going to cover for me so I can reconnect with my family, and I wish you all the best, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.